hakuna makosa ya ubinafsishaji wa bandari. Bandari nyingi duniani leo zinaenda model ya ubinafsishaji. Swala kubwa ni ubinafsishaji wa aina gani, na last time nilieleza kuhusu aina mbalimbali za ubinafsishaji, whether it's a landlord tenant system kama mliokuwa na TICS, ama is a management system, or niliona ule jamaa hujamfukuza alikuwa anaongea build, operate and transfer, lakini at least kwa bandari ya Dar es Salaam haiwezi kuwa BOT, because build, operate and transfer inamaanisha kwamba unajenga bandari mpya. Kwa mfano tulipokuwa tunajenga bandari ya Lamu Kenya, the deal was tufanye BOT, but the BOT didn't work, so tukakopa pesa tukajenga bandari, alafu sasa tutaingia katika a management system or a concession system. So that will be the case. So for example, bandari ya Dar es Salaam huwezi niambia kwamba sijaona hizo HGA. I mean, at least wametuambia kwamba hakuna HGA yoyote iliyopo, lakini hata kama hiyo HGA ikija, ile siku itakayokuja haiwezi kuwa ya build and take. It can't, because anyway it would then essentially mean that you want to put a lot of money to build something, so that would not work. You would then need two things. So kuna swala nimeliona Maria ambalo I need to clarify.
Yes, please.
When we talked last time, number one, kulikuwa na mambo mengi yanaendelea, lakini pia I have 10 minutes kuelezea, so I have to quickly say everything na kile kilichopo. Nimeona watu wengi wakiinsist hii idea ya kwamba because the agreement is not ratified, there is no problem, that agreement can die.
Yeah, hiyo ndio wanasema, ili nisaidie wale ambao maybe hawajui vizuri Kiingereza.
Ndio nataka niweke
kuidhinisha, inaitwa kuidhinisha. Yes.
It has no consequences. An average lawyer trained in an average law school would tell you that a treaty that is signed and is not ratified yet, you can breach it. But a good lawyer will tell you that Article 15 of the Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties says the minute you signed a treaty or an international agreement, as is defined at Article 2 of the Vienna Convention on Law of the Treaties, you cannot engage in any activity that beats the object and purpose of that treaty
matatizo, pamoja na kwamba unaweza ukavunja mkataba, lakini tayari inachukuliwa kwamba ule mkataba umeshasainiwa. Kwa hiyo unaweza ukatumika, na pia sharti ya kutoendelea na shughuli nyingine inayokinzana na malengo ya mkataba pia inaweza ikatumika kama sehemu ya kufanya challenge au kuipeleka mahakamani kama mkataba utavunjwa. Yes, go on Nje.
Kwa mfano, ILC imeandika a whole draft of an explanation of Article 15. Wanasema kwa mfano, kama kwa huu mkataba kwa mfano, sahi Tanzania haiwezi kwenda ikachukua mwekezaji mwingine leo ikamfanya operate bandari ya Tanzania kwa mfano kwa miaka mitatu. Why? Because ukimpatia leo mwekezaji, you've beaten the object and purpose of the treaty that is supposed to come in place. Because if we have an agreement that I am supposed to run your ports in future, and you've already signed, and you are waiting for the ratification to happen, for the ratification to happen, you cannot engage in acts to beat the object and purpose of that agreement. That is very basic. So even the idea that huu mkataba haujaratifiwa, that is true. And I agree, it has not been ratified, save for Article 25(1) and 2, which are the operational clauses za kuenda kufanya mkataba ukuwe ratified. However, you cannot engage in acts that will beat the object and purpose of this agreement. So huwezi kwenda kuitisha bids, huwezi kwenda kuweka mtu mwingine, mpaka ile siku tutakuwa sure that this agreement cannot pass. That is basic. Now, hawalisemi hili. Either they don't know, which could be the case because many people sign without knowing this, but there is a wide body of investment law cases on these questions of beating object and purpose before ratification. Hilo ni la kwanza. La pili, ukiwa na mkataba mbaya, what you do is you go back and start rectifying the clauses that you think don't work. The end goal for the Dubai government and DP World is to make money. That is the end goal. Sio ku engage in dispute. I don't think any investor is interested in disputes. Ukiwa na mkataba mbaya, you go sit down and you start rectifying your agreement. You don't force it down.
Ni kubadilisha vifungu au ibara ya mkataba.
Exactly. If you have a bad agreement, you go back, you rectify the agreement, you start writing it afresh in terms of that is what people are interested in. So the whole debate of hatujaingia kwa mkataba utakuja. An IGA, as I said last time, is an agreement to agree. You write IGAs because you want to agree on future agreements in future. So a priori, there are certain things you have agreed that you cannot change. And subject to you violating those a priori agreements, there will be consequences. It's not as free as they want to make it seem, right? It could be as free if the other person sees there is no option of pursuing you. But they must accept that there are chances there could be consequences. So these are certain facts that you must at least put them straight. Whether you and the basic thing to do is to go and tell the people they are negotiating with, mkataba tulio now, in our view, is not working. Everyone is interested in making money out of this deal. Number two, also nimesikia yule jamaa akisema, it can be, build, operate and take, and that's fine. Kenya tuko na build, operate and take ngapi? Tuko na hii expressway hapa, it's a build, operate and take, the toll road. Is our railway not a build, operate and take? Na imepigwa pesa, haijapigwa pesa because we signed a very bad agreement, mkataba ambao paka leo hakuna rais aliyeingia madarakani anataka kurelease. Kila akiingia anasema I will give out the agreement. Paka leo hawautoi. Because these agreements have certain catches. So just because it's a build, operate or take does not mean, or it's a landlord tenure system, that there aren't certain consequences that will be done. Those consequences are there. So what you do is you encourage more debate, and that debate then allows you to make better decision making. Because honestly, as it stands, that agreement has very weird clauses, and those clauses need to be checked. For example, you cannot have an agreement. Even the person who's writing an agreement is a person who just wanted to confuse the people there. You cannot have an agreement that says, you cannot get out of this agreement. But then it also says, you can give notice to get out of the agreement, and no party shall unreasonable hold back the request to give out to release themselves from that contract. So what are we saying here? That if I make a request to release myself from the contract, I shouldn't be unreservedly denied to get out of the contract. But at the same time, you're also saying I cannot excuse or get myself out of the contract.
Nyanche, naomba niseme kwa Kiswahili ili watu waelewe. Yaani kwa kifupi kwamba kipengele au ibara ambayo inahusika na kujitoa katika makubaliano, upande mmoja inasema, ibara ndogo moja inasema huwezi kujitoa, lakini kuna ibara ndogo nyingine ambayo inasema unaweza kujitoa bila kuathiri pande nyingine, si ndio?
Exactly. That will be the agreement. And you know, I have really tried to listen to their arguments, and no one has said, you know, they keep on repeating this argument of 100 years. I also heard it from them. I have never heard it from anyone. I don't know if anyone has ever said there was a 100-year agreement. Number two, they've said there are no HGAs, which is exactly what we said last time. We said this is an agreement to agree, but an agreement to agree is just not an agreement. There are consequences to an agreement to agree. Yeah. So I mean, and you know, these guys can even make you think that you are insane. So I asked a friend of, I called a few colleagues of mine, and I gave them the scenario, nikawauliza, hebu niambieni labda mimi ndio niko na kichaa ama sijielewi, and we all come to the same conclusion. You know, we all come to the same conclusion.
Na hao wenzako wote ni wanasheria pia kama wewe.
Exactly.
Investment lawyers.
Every one of them does investment law, does investment arbitration, state to state dispute, or investor state dispute. All of us do ISDS. You know, so hata nimesema labda nimekosea, kuna kitu sijui. You know, it's not normal for people to start denying things that are obvious. You know,
so ili kwamba ieleweke, sorry Nyanche, ili kwa Kiswahili ieleweke, mkataba, kwa sababu agreement is mkataba au makubaliano ambayo imesainiwa ya intergovernment agreement, ni mkataba au makubaliano ya kwamba tumekubaliana kufanya kazi pamoja.
Exactly. It's an agreement to agree. However,
Lakini,
if you have for example, this agreement to agree is very unique. And it's very unique because DP World is a state-owned entity. In essence, the Dubai government can exercise kitu kinaitwa diplomatic immunity over its SOEs. So if the Dubai government feels that there was a benefit they were to get through DP World, but because DP World is not party to this agreement, then it can exercise diplomatic immunity for purposes of claiming for the benefit that would have gone to DP World. Now, whether the
sorry, inabidi watu waelewe kwa Kiswahili. Kwa hiyo unachosema ni kwamba DP World ni mali ya serikali ya Dubai. Na serikali ya Dubai na serikali ya Dubai inaweza ikatumia nafasi yake ya kidiplomasia, kinga ya kidiplomasia, kusema kwamba inataka kufaidika au kwamba haijafaidika.
Kwamba DP World haijafaidika, because DP World is the main beneficiary of this project, but DP World is not at least for now, is not a party to this agreement, right?
Yeah, intergovernment, yes.
It's not a party to this agreement for now.
Yes, to the intergovernment, yeah.
But that does not stop the Dubai government, at least for jurisdictional purposes, on merits it, because issue ni kwamba hii Maria, kwa hizi type of contract, hizi contract sio a single based contract. You cannot make conclusions from them as a single contract. So kwa mfano huwezi kusoma huu mkataba huu alafu uka make certain conclusions from it. Hizi contract, you only make conclusions based on other agreements, but also conduct of parties and decisions given to and agreements by parties all through. They're just not singularly based as a single agreement. For you to find something is not working in that agreement, it's also built up on certain other agreements and certain other actions of the parties, right? So for example, mumepatiana ahadi. Ndio maana nilikuwa nakwambia kwamba huwezi kujua unless all hizi tunazoambiwa kuna memorandum. In fact, they refer to a memorandum if you read the first part of that agreement.
Ndio, kuna memorandum ambayo waliweka sahihi.
Exactly.
Hatujui
hizo memorandums zinasema nini. Hatujui what they have discussed on the side about these issues. So then we don't know whether there are certain statements that have been given that would infer serious legitimate expectation on the part of the state of Dubai, otherwise towards DP World. Now, number two, ile ambayo niko very worried also as well. This agreement says, in part of coming into force, that it shall cover HGAs that will come, but also for those contracts that have already happened before this agreement coming into force, it shall also cover them. So are there any other works that are going on at the moment as they wait ratification of this? Because then those that are already going on, you could argue, and I'm saying the jurisdictional problem does not exist. The merit problem will be another question, that do they have legitimate expectation if there is any other project already ongoing?
Yeah, by the way Nyanje, ili watu waelewe, wewe unazungumzia hilo swala ambalo bunge, secretariat ya bunge ilifanya analysis, uchambuzi, na ilikuja na hiyo ambapo iliuliza swali hilo ambao umeuliza kwamba mkataba huu ulisainiwa, lakini kuna shughuli za awali za utekelezaji wa mradi ambazo zitaanza kufanyika, na wamesema kwamba hizo shughuli, kuna shughuli ambazo ziko nje ya hata pamoja, baada tu ya kusaini mnaweza mkaendelea na shughuli. Sasa wakasema kwa sababu bado haijaridhiwa, lakini mkataba unasema zile shughuli za awali zinaweza zikaendelea bila kuridhiwa, ndio wakataka maelezo, bunge ikataka. Kwa hiyo Nyanche, na wewe unauliza kwamba hizo shughuli wanazofanya ni shughuli gani?
Exactly, we don't know what those are, because they clearly say that those you are backdating your agreement. That's essentially what you're doing, right? You're saying there are certain projects that might already be going on, and once this comes into place after ratification, then those ones will also be covered here. So for example, mimi kwa mfano kama nina mradi unaoendelea sahi na nimewekeza pesa na hii ikose kuja in place, don't I have legitimate expectations?
Yeah, yes,
Definitely, I do have legitimate expectations, and you will have violated my legitimate expectations. So there, kwanza lazima tupate tujue kwamba hiyo miradi mengine ni ipi, ni gani, inafanya nini, because you cannot make inferences out of one document. However, as this document sits, the document itself is problematic. It's something you have to deal with. This question of, oh, it's not yet ratified, or it's not yet ratified, true, but you cannot do acts to beat the object and purpose of it.
Labda Nyanche, nataka to move on. Kuna kingine ambacho nataka kuongelea kwa sababu nataka tuingie kwenye ile ya kimataifa.
Kwa hiyo hapo nimemaliza. It's something I needed to make straight, because nime notice that is the argument that is kept on repeated, that it's not ratified and all that. So kwa mfano with Djibouti had a couple of issues with DP World. First of all, they were supposed to have a BOT agreement. That port, they actually put money to build it, and when they did, the amount of times depending on volumes required exclusivity. But when China required to put of course, China started with a military base, which has always been an issue, but they started, of course, to put up the port in Djibouti. They've always wanted to operate around that region for strategic purposes. And for some reason Djibouti
went kwamba kulikuwa pia na maslahi ya Wachina ambao walikuja kuweka tuseme ni bandari ya kijeshi ili ieleweke.
So they wanted a military base, but also they wanted to operate a port from there. So two separate things. And what we know, if you've read that Djibouti case, at least DP World is telling us that they were informed by Djibouti, can we renegotiate? And which is exactly the same problem with ISDS today. Countries wanaingia kwa mikataba mibovu because they are told usiposign hatukuji kuwekeza. Okay? And developing world countries are so hungry for development of mortar and brick, wanakubali, wanasign. Later they discover these things don't work. So what do? We have to renegotiate. And almost every country has gone through this, whether it's through a BIT or an IGA or a HGA. They all happen.
Kwa hiyo kurenegotiate na maana kwamba mnakaa tena mnasema sawa, tulishasaini mkataba, mmeanza kazi, lakini naomba turudi tena tuboreshe mkataba.
Exactly. And DP World would never agree because they wanted exclusivity in Djibouti. And Djibouti thought they had bigger interests with China for other things to pursue. What do? at the core of some of these issues are sovereignty issues. Haiwezi kuwa ni nchi yako alafu you cannot make basic decision. Wacha nikupatie mfano mwingine. Colombia,
okay, malizia alafu nitabidi
namalizia sasa hivi. Colombia had a mining concession agreement. Ile mining concession agreement used to pollute, destroy the environment for where the indigenous people walikuwa wanaishi. And they have a valid agreement. Very valid. They can't get away from it. The agreement requires those people to remain there regardless of what they do. Colombia wakasema, jamani, let's renegotiate, see how you will compensate to ensure the environment is not spoiled kwa hawa indigenous communities wetu. The company refused. Wakasema hatutaki. Ule agreement tuko nayo ndio tutaishi nayo. So these are the problems that are happening with countries like Djibouti and Colombia and all these other countries. It's not because they're fraudsters. It's because circumstances change in investment. And I'm happy to see Fatma is here. I'm curious to see her arguments. You know, a few years ago, I was on a case on the opposite side with her, and I know she's a wonderful investment lawyer. Maybe she can, you know, give her opinion and say if actually I'm wrong on these issues.